13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Your Football Show. I hope you are all doing well. It is time for your favourite show of the week. Of course, it is the final word, depending on whether or not Leeds United win a game of football. And unfortunately, we tasted defeat for the first time in a while. And Ipswich and Leicester have both won their games after going behind, and unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. So naturally, there's a lot of negativity around at the moment. But I think we have to try and be objective, because I thought Sunderland were decent. They got some very good players in the likes of Clark. You've got Huggins. You had Trey Hume. I thought Pritchard was very good. So we have to give props to them and to the manager, because I do think he sort of outdid Farke in terms of his tactics. We will talk about this throughout the course of the game, maybe the reluctance to change. And also, the one area I am really negative in, I mean, I've seen some wild takes on Farke, but the one negative I do have is throwing 6 attackers on at the end of the game. To me, is Sunday League tactics. There's no sort of like rhyme or reason. That's just my opinion, and people will probably differ, especially when the players then don't get it out wide and put it in the box. And the one point they did, Pirro nearly scored. And outside of that, we're just going left, right, back. And it's like, what are we doing? So it was very frustrating, but there's life in the old dog yet. You know, we've got Coventry up next, Ipswich at home. So 2 home games, and we're still undefeated at home. So that's one thing we have to cling to. Rocco, I'm going to come to you first of all. Welcome back, mate. It's a pleasure to have you back. I've missed you. I have been listening to you on Leeds, that and all that jazz. But how did you see the game, mate? A little bit more positive than me, or what? What's your general opinion?
No, I can't really disagree with you, to be honest. It was really disappointing. You know, you look at the fixture list and you see Blackburn away and Sunderland away, and you know it's going to be a tough few days. But having beaten Blackburn and the way we started against Sunderland as well, you know, we very quickly looked the superior team to me. But we just let it slip away. We were never really at it. There was no spark. We just couldn't really damage them, and in the end, I think they deserve their win. And yeah, I've probably felt worse about it tonight. I think like yesterday, I was quite philosophical after the game. You know, realizing that we're still doing very well. We've got a great, you know, points tally, and you know, it's only the form of Ipswich and Leicester that have sort of, basically marred our season. You know, we'd be doing incredibly well otherwise. But then I think, well, if they're getting these results, like, we need to as well. You know, it's not good enough losing that game last night, and we can't afford slip-ups. So, yeah, both two camps, two ways of looking at it. It is a long season. Doing it over 21 games is one thing, but 46 is a whole other thing. So, just got to keep the faith.
Yeah, we have to. Like you say, it's the relentless nature, not just of this division, but of the 2 teams above us as well. Like, the mad thing is, I think Leicester are the quickest team to reach 50 points since the change of format from the Division 1 or Division 2 back then to Championship. You know what I mean? So it just shows you, it's just Leeds that we're in a league when, you know, Ipswich and Leicester are playing as well as they are, because I think on this points total, last season we'd be top of the league. So, you know, it is what it is. It's just one of them things that we're going to have to get used to, I guess, and hopefully they do drop points. But Andrea, frustrating night at the office, mate. I just think, like Rocco said, we start so well. Somerville gets that free kick that the keeper Patterson tips over, and you're thinking, okay, we're going to be all right. And then obviously by the end, it just felt like Groundhog Day a little bit towards the end. A lot like Stoke and a lot like Rotherham. The losses are very similar. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? When I was watching the game, I thought in the first 10, 15 minutes, you know, I thought to myself, we're playing really well. I think it was the first 10, 15 minutes, one of the best starts we had in terms of ball possession and dominating the possession. But after that, you know, we had one chance and disappeared completely from the game. And you mentioned Rotherham and other games like Stoke, like Southampton. It's a recurring problem. Even when we win, we're not consistent throughout the 90 minutes sometimes, and it's costing us, as well as the stubbornness of Farke, a manager I really trust, and I think highly of him, but he's too stubborn sometimes, and he's costing us because really it's a mentality issue sometimes. We are too easy to play against in certain nights, like yesterday, for example, when we had that chance. Then they started to take the countermeasures, through our style of football. And after the first 15 minutes, they started to get higher on the pitch, and Ampadu and Kamara went down. Like we said yesterday on the watch along, and they had 2 clear chances when they could have scored, and a penalty that the referee didn't give to them. So they deserve fully the 3 points. We ghosted last night, basically. We ghosted, and there were, I think, tactical problems that are emerging right now when we lose, but are there even when we win. So I think there's still hope, because, but January is massive for me. We need to bring in players, because right now the manager wants to play a certain style of football, is typical one, but in certain positions for me, he's lacking the players to play that style of football, and he's getting stubborn to force to adapt to certain players to that style of football. But we don't have the players to play like that in key positions. The 9, who's on number 9, for example. When we score and we win, right now we win with talent. Now we mentality and aggression. We're not too aggressive. I think the last time we were really aggressive was when we won at Leicester, when we were in the trenches and defended like we were in the trenches, in terms of football terms, of course. But yeah, I think there's still hope, but the next games, of course, Coventry is a good opportunity, and we have Ipswich, so 2 massive games. But yeah, I've seen comparisons today to the last seasons, but I don't like them, honestly, in terms of the championship, I mean, because the level is completely different from last season. For example, we have Leicester, Southampton, West Brom, Norwich, Leeds. The cheat code is Ipswich, of course, this season, but there's many teams with the funds and investments, so the level is higher this season. And unfortunately, when we're playing in this season, not in recent seasons, But yeah, we gotta keep hoping for the top 2, try to reach them and wait for a false pass from them, a mistake from them.
100%. Asking you shall receive, Russ. Russ says, as much as I'm liking the panel tonight, it's just missing Kate to be the best final word in a long time, and there she arrived, mate. She must have been pouring that big ass pint.
Oh, we are. Are we live? Are we on?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah. Sorry. Excuse me, I thought we were backstage.
What lager is that?
Sorry.
Chugging. That's what lager it is. What lager is it, Kate?
Yeah, what you got?
It's a Sahi, actually.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, nice bit
dry
of Japanese.
Bit dry. Oh, missing
Lovely
out.
and dry. Yeah, I love it. Beautiful.
Don't get me wrong.
I
drink it.
Don't get me wrong. Anything that begins with B and ends with R is going down the gullet. So.
I love that. Luke, I have to agree with Andrea a little bit in terms of, for me, it also showed, as mad as this is, and I don't know if it is an overreaction, but it showed this quite a few gaping holes in terms of off the bench. We need a 10. We need a creative force, even in the starting 11, because if Pirro and Rutter are out working, which they weren't last night, there's no one to get on the ball in that final third and start playing them little passes that you might see Samu Saiz or a Pablo or a Buendia when he was at Norwich do. We don't have that player. And I thought Pirro went missing last night, Luke, and it weren't great, and Rutter wasn't at, and we couldn't change it.
Agreed, mate. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think, look, let's not take anything away from Southampton. They were really well drilled last night. They were by far and away the best, the most organised team we've faced this season, quite easily. I think so. They were so consistent with the pressing when they needed to be, but they'd sit back when they needed to be. They just read the game really, really well, and we played to their scripts. We tried to play, we were playing too quick. We were trying to get the ball forward too quick sometimes, and it just the second touch for our front four was always a tackle, which doesn't bode well. It wasn't clicking. So I don't think we should be taking anything away from Sunderland. Did I say Southampton a minute ago?
Yeah,
you said Saints, but don't worry.
I meant Sunderland, obviously. It's because it's this red and white kit starting with an S. We're absolutely fucked. Every team we play with in red and white starts with an S. Stoke, Sunderland, everybody. Look,
Oh yeah.
I don't I'm
And
probably a
the
little
wicket.
bit more positive and a little bit more optimistic. I'm not basing the rest of this season off that one performance.
No.
Look, it's happened before 2-3 times now this season. 4 times we've lost, I think, through the course of the season. But it is very similar in style. The way we lose, it's when teams do sit back and absorb pressure and let us come at them. We look relatively clueless. You look at Sheff Wednesday. We look at even Rotherham. Those types of games, when teams sit back and just absorb the pressure, we almost look like we're trying to get the ball in the goal too far too quickly. It's almost Jesse Marsh style as a comparison.
It was very narrow. Yeah, it was.
And whilst it's frustrating, look, I just want to go back to your point that you made about throwing all these subs on. Look, when it works, it's a genius stroke. We did it at Norwich and won the game when we did that. So we can't. Whilst it is very amateurish to do that, I suppose it did change the complexion of the game, and we did look like scoring more when we had 4 or 5 strikers on the pitch, which naturally we would. But yeah, I completely agree. When teams sit back, absorb pressure, going back to your question around Pirro and Rutter, we don't have any alternative options in either of those roles, really, that can come on and make an impact. So yeah, I mean, I've said it, I don't know how many times, when teams do sit back and absorb that pressure and let those two drift apart, because that's what naturally happens when we're not getting the ball forward in that final third or in the 14 zone or whatever you call it these days, if you're a data geek, then those two move away from each other completely, and there's just no cohesion. And the further those two are away from each other, the less impactful we are, the less chances we create, and the less positive we have as an outcome, the less goals we score. So yeah, look, it's 1 defeat in 8 games. Come on, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
If we sit here and start, look, if the results go against us Saturday or against Ipswich, then we can start talking about a drop in form. You've said it yourself. This position last season, we'd be top of the table. So can we be that harsh on Farke? Is it his style? Is it, or is he just not got? Has he not got the ammunition to be able to do and change? We look at the best teams he had. He had Buendia in there, didn't he? As a natural 10. We haven't got a natural 10. He's playing Pirro late arriving, and him and Rutter are interchanging. And look, when it works, it looks fantastic. When it doesn't, we have a result like last night and against Stoke and against Rotherham and everything else. So yeah, I'm still mildly optimistic. I think there's a long way to go this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is, and I do agree with you. I think there's been a lot of, like, maybe we did take Sunderland for granted. I don't know if we did. I just thought Sunderland were really good, and like someone's just reminded us in the play, you know, in the comments, I think at Bry, they did get to the playoff semi-final last season. Do you know what I mean? So they're not a bad side. They're one of them teams that will be up and in and around there. They're just a bit inconsistent, but you know, in 2 games they've beaten West Brom and then they've beaten Leeds United. That ain't easy. So you know, we just have to
Saints.
They beat Southampton. We just have to hope that they do that against the likes of Ipswich and Leicester. JT, what's your thoughts? Obviously, I've not spoken to you for a few weeks. I think 2 weeks ago or so now. How are you doing, first and foremost, mate? And there's a lot of love in the comments for your hair, by the way. It's,
my hair,
asking
it's a
if
bit
I'm
greasy.
jealous.
It's a bit
Not
greasy,
just in the comments, mate. I'm loving it as well.
I love it. I appreciate that, man. I love it. I just need to get my beard nice and full like yours, and I'll have the full Viking look. But listen,
the new David Bratton.
I was thinking more George Michael look, to be honest, mate.
George Michael, wow. Come on, boys. I'll go Roman Reigns. You know, I'll accept that.
Yeah, fair.
Listen. You know, you're used to, especially last year. Well, first of all, I want to say very nice to be on the show. A lot of great opinions here. And it's nice to hear people actually sharing the same opinion with me. So it's really nice to be here with all of you guys and girls. But for me, you're used to me coming on the old shows. I used to be very optimistic, didn't I? Especially when we're in the Premier League, always coming optimistic. I'm not feeling that way right now. You know, I feel pessimistic. Like I'm hearing you speaking there. You're mildly optimistic. For me, that optimism had slowly being beaten out of me. And yesterday, I find it very hard to find things that I'm too optimistic about. Now, you question whether we have a player who can play in the 10 or create. I think we do have that player. That player for me is Jorginho Rutter. Most chances created in the league. He's probably one of the best creative players in the league I've seen. I don't think Samuel Saiz you talk about him, was much more creative than Rutter. The problem for me is where we're playing Rutter. We're playing Rutter as the number 9, and we're playing Perrault kind of behind him in the 10. Sometimes he comes forward into the number 9 and they switch over. But generally, because Perrault can't press, we're playing Rutter in the number 9, which is not his game. He's not a natural number 9. He's someone who's good at getting the ball from deep, taking a couple of players on and spraying beautiful chip through balls or whatever. He's a great creator, but he creates better. And I said it before, early on in the season when we had Bamford on the pitch with him, because when you have a striker forward who can take the defenders back, who can absorb pressure away, it gives Rutter so much space to occupy, to spray the balls in, and it's not working that way. For some reason, I don't understand Farke. Okay, I liked what you said, Andrea, where you're questioning his stubbornness. Finally, someone's starting to agree with me, because listen, I know he's got a good track record of getting sides promoted, but this squad we have, okay, by far and above, should easily be dispatching of Sunderland, Southampton, Stoke. I don't care any ST you put in there. We should be dealing with them. And the fact that he is waiting every single time until the 73rd, 75th minute. We're sat there. Ray Charles can see it's not working with Dan James on the wing. He's not having a lot of joy. Perrault, he's not moving at all. He needs some WD-40. The guy's stiff. Anyone can see we need to make a couple of changes in there. And he's waiting so long. And like you said, he tries to do. He tries to bring 3-4 players on and shock teams. Okay, cool. It worked against Norwich. We shocked them and we won the game. Yeah. But how many times has he done it and it hasn't worked? And we've waited so long. He takes Rutter off. Rutter is, okay, maybe he wasn't having his best game. It wasn't working with him and Perrault. Take Perrault off then. Because if anyone's going to get us a goal, if anyone's likely to create something out of nothing, it's Rutter. And when you have one of those players, you keep them on the pitch. You put Joseph on with him. You put Bamford on with him, and you gamble. You see what can happen there. For some reason, he doesn't want to do that. And I liked what you were saying about the fact when teams sit back, it's hard for us to break them down. It's hard for us to create a lot. And I think I gathered the reason for that. And the reason I cracked very early on is because we're a side that relies very heavily on individual talent. There's a reason why when sides come at us and we can hit them on the counter-attack, it works so well. It's because we have 2 players in that side that are head and shoulders above pretty much anyone else in the league, in my opinion. When you're looking at Somerville, I mean, you're looking at Rutter, man for man quality, those are at least Europa League / Premier League quality players, in my opinion. And they're playing against substandard players in the Championship. So when they get the ball on the counter-attack, listen, Leeds are a great counter-attacking side. But when Rutter and Somerville aren't on the pitch, we're not a great counter-attacking side, in my opinion. It's those two that always link up well. But when sides sit back, all of a sudden you're relying less on individual talent and you're relying on teamwork and team play to create something. And we don't have a lot of that. It's like they're a bit confused. It's like Farke's 50-50 with his tactics sometimes. It's not like Bielsa. Under Bielsa, everyone knew where to run. People were kicking the ball off the pitch because they were expecting someone to make the run and do something at that time. It seems a bit too hesitant for me. I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but I think with the players he's got, Farke could be doing quite a bit better right now.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. I'm glad you mentioned, because it's a point I touched even when we won. You know, I would like to see him being proactive with the substitution, not wait till the 17th minute. So I went searching, and in 21 games in the league, 90 substitutions totally. Just 14 subs.
90 or 19?
90. 90.
What, 19?
90.
Oh, 90.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah,
I counted them. Maybe one more.
No, they're all there. Yeah, so
you know.
Did you get your abacus out?
91 actually.
When I was in high school, the worst subject the one I did the worst with was maths. But yeah,
I just wanted to make sure.
Don't tell us that after you give us stats. Haven't telling us that.
But yeah, actually, in 21 games, just 14 subs were made before the 70th minute, and 5 of those were because of injury. So if you look at the total, he just subs the players after the 70th minute, based on certain situations in the game. For example, or before, for example, Adol, he made 2 subs after Roland was sent off, you know. But yesterday, JT mentioned Perrault. I'm surprised he played 90 minutes, honestly, because he never saw the ball yesterday. because, like JT said, I'm gonna say it again. Pirot is not a number 10, and he's not a typical number 9. We said, me and Loki in the summer, he's not a typical number 9 for Daniel Farke. So he's not used to work with this type of player in the number 9 position because he doesn't press, he doesn't touch the team. He's a different number 9. So for me in January, honestly, because of Bamford right now, of course, he's not physically fit. He's struggling to get fitness. He's struggling to make an impact when he comes on. Joseph is too young. We don't need to ask much from him right now. We need to be patient because we don't know how he will adapt to the senior game in the time. I still think it's unrealistic probably, but I still think we need another number 9 because right now we don't have a 9 who understands the type of football what Farke wants to play. Rotter goes back.
Andre, hasn't Pirot been? I mean, I've noticed him improving over the last few weeks. The way he's pressing, the way he's sort of like being able to tackle, and his position moving about a bit more on the pitch and taking other players on. I've noticed that. Isn't that something that's going to develop over time though?
He can do that because he's asking him to do that in that role. He does that better when he has spaces, when teams leave spaces between the defense and the midfield. When we play against narrow formation, he disappears because he's not used to play like that. But he can do that. He can do that. He can improve. But ultimately, we don't have a player attacking and stretching their defensive line. We sometimes play with the long ball, but there's no one there. There's no one on the end of crosses. We rely massively against those formations on the one-on-ones on the wings of Somerville and James. That's the point. We look like AC Milan with Leao. The only plan we have when we play against narrow formation is give the ball to Leao and hope for the best. We do that with Somerville sometimes,
If I was to ask you, sorry to interject, if you could put one of the number 9s that we have there, if you wanted to switch up from Pirot, Bamford, maybe Gelhardt, maybe Joseph, who would you think would be better suited? Obviously you said you want to sign someone in January, but in the current moment, who do you think could change the style and, like you said, spread the back line?
I think the only one realistically can be Joseph, but I don't want to rush him because we don't know how he will fit into senior football yet. I still think we need another proven striker, a proven alternative, someone who knows the league. And I don't want, honestly, to rush Joseph. We need to nurture him, honestly, to let him grow and understand the league first and foremost. Because, honestly, every team, if you recall, the team above us and the team in the playoff mates, they have a proven striker. And I still think we need to look at the market if Pirot keeps playing in the 10, because of course if we ask Rutter to get the ball and Pirot does the same, we don't have anyone right there battling with the defenders. So there's no attacking flow there, for me.
Yeah. No, listen, in that whole conversation, there's some great points made by all. And to be fair, JT's got a massive point when I say we haven't got a natural number 10, because you are right, Rutter is that. I guess when you think about the goals that we have scored against Norwich and stuff from deep, when he has picked it up in them areas and he has got space, he has been able to play balls through. So I am doing him a disservice there. I think it's a great point. And then again, it does come back to that conversation that we had right at the start of the season. And every time we lose, it probably comes back again. And I agree with Kate, though. Pirot has improved. I think we've all seen a marked improvement in him, but whether or not that's enough to for us over the course of the season, I guess remains to be seen. Kate, let me, because I've got a few things I want to touch on, like with Gray, with right back, left back, but just what's been your overriding emotion? I know you watched the game and did a watch along and whatnot. What are your key takeaways?
Do you know, I was trying to be really positive yesterday, but every time I came up with a positive, it was caveated by a massive negative, like, Struijk making that great clearance and then giving away that sloppy header which led to the goal. Matteo Joseph coming on, but like we discussed, 78th minute or whatever it was. And Cree and Jed Spence, there was some little nice touches of play down the left-hand side with them. But again, Jed Spence not tracking back and Archie Gray out of his depth. I mean, there was a lot of calls on my chat for
depth, out of his depth.
Pardon?
Out of his depth.
Who?
Archie Gray.
Yeah, Jack Clark was running rings around him yesterday.
Out of his depth, though? That's strong. Go on, carry on. Anyway, sorry.
You know what I mean, though, Joe, right? Come on, you know what I mean. A lot of people were saying, should those two have been swapped over at half time? Do you know what I mean? There is that right back, because literally Jed Spence is playing out of position. Archie Gray is playing out of position. So, you know, and when it came to, like you've all discussed, they put in a massive block, and, you know, those three centre backs just shut down any sort of creative play we could have. But what I kind of keep questioning is, why is it that we have no, when they're asking those sort of questions of us, why can't we respond? You know, it's happening, you know, time and time again now. When they're parking the bus or whatever, you know, we're not able to pass them. So why is that? Why aren't we sort of coming up? It's got to be on Daniel Farke, surely.
Oh no, I agree with you. It has to, go on, Luke. Did you want to say something?
Yeah,
there?
I just think we've got to be a little bit careful. You know, after every loss, we just seem to be straight down Farke's throat and the front four. You know, it's either the front four or Meslier's fault. You know, there's always going to be somebody to blame.
No, I'm not saying that. All I'm
not saying you are, Kate. I'm saying generally speaking, as a group, we need to be a little bit careful. I feel because we look at the goal contributions from that front four this season alone. You know, it's hard to argue that they've been played out of position.
No, I agree. I hear what you're saying.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. As a collective, Luke, I think they're the best in the league. I don't think anyone
absolutely. And should we be getting more out of them? That goes back to your point, Kate. Absolutely, we should. I think whilst their numbers are looking great, they could look much better if we had a bit more idea. And look, teams are going to notice. Then teams are going to have tactical analysis on all our games where we've struggled. And the second half of the season, when we go to these lower sides of the league away from home, because that's who we've got to play away from home for the majority of the second half of the season, they're just going to be shutting up shop. You know, they're going to think, actually, 2 banks of 4, we're going to sit back. We may even play 5 at the back, which we don't normally do, and just let Leeds come at us, because, look, there's a good chance we'll do them on the break, or they won't score. So we'll either pick up a point, or we'll nick a win against Leeds United, who should be getting promoted.
To kind of come up with something to get over that. That's what I'm saying. It's not completely on the front four.
Completely agree. But then no, it's not on the front four, which is where I'm coming from. Is that I suppose we can't sit here one week and say how great the front four are, and then just come back and say the next week actually they've been played out position. Do you see what I mean? It's a little bit contradictory of our own.
I've always said that Pirlo is played out of position for me when we win, because I think I agree on what you're saying, that we can get more from them, and I think if we get certain players or try to switch them, I think we get more. Honestly, of course, I'm not the manager; I'm just a fan, but. Honestly, I think in recent games, even when we won certain games, we won that with talent, and there are certain patterns which are recurring right now and are exploited in certain games against the teams in the top half of the table. So right now, I think those things need to be looked at if we want to be better, to be more consistent against those teams.
Maximizing the talent, in other words.
Yeah, against those teams, you know, because we're doing great against the mid-table teams. Of course, we struggle against, for example, Rotterdam or Sheffield Wednesday. But it's working against certain teams that play a certain style of football against us, that try to attack us. It's working when they leave spaces. When we play again narrow formation or organized formation, we're struggling. So the next step for me, because when we play again those kind of formations, the front four struggles sometimes. Not the 2 wingers, Rather and Pirlo, they struggled because they do that switch properly when we play against certain teams, but against other teams more organized, they struggle. So the next step is trying to get them more involved against those kind of teams. You know, I'm getting Italian with those gestures here now.
No, I 100% agree with what you're saying there, and it's funny you're saying, are we getting too harsh on the front four? You know, because we give them a lot of credit, a lot of games, and then when we lose, we're getting very critical on them. But I think we can be, because when we win the games, for me personally, I'm giving credit to the individuals of that front four. When we're losing games, I'm criticizing the way the front four are playing, the way that they have been laid out. And listen, even Farke has admitted himself, Perot is out of position. You know, you're saying he's improving. I can teach a pianist how to play the guitar. He's not going to be perfectly suited to that instrument. He might start improving and start, fitting in, but he's not going to be playing at a Michelin star restaurant. You know what I mean? And Leeds are that caliber of club. We should have players that fit certain positions. We have Joel Perreault, who was brought in as a number 9. And very quickly, Farke even came out himself and said, listen, I have to play him out of position because he can't press. I want my number 9 to press. Hang on a second. Why did they buy him then? Exactly. Why did they get rid of Cody Drama when Farke turned around and said, Cody Drama doesn't fit my system? Despite the fact we have such shortages at right back, they got rid of him. But they were happy enough to sign Perreault and slap him in the number 10 when we already have a better number 10 playing out of position also, because he doesn't fit the system. And I just think there are certain things. Listen, I know we're beating a lot of sides and the front four look great and we're getting a lot out of them, but anybody could get a lot out of these front four, I believe, because I think they're that good. Okay, Dan James maybe is a bit of an exception. I think Dan James, nobody really expected him to be forcing Nonto out of the side the way that he has been, but especially Somerville, especially Rutter. And when you have those good players creating chances, people like Dan James are going to pick up and get quite a few goals out of them, not to take anything away from his performances. But you'd expect these players to get these kind of goal contributions, in my opinion. I think we're not getting enough out of them. As I said, I genuinely believe, especially attacking, our quality is so much better than these other sides. We should be doing more with it. And the system for me is just not suited to that. We're like Mike Tyson a bit. You know, he would go up against opposition, and he'd be so powerful, he'd be so quick, he'd be so strong that he knocked them out easily. But other times he would have a test. He would have a Lennox Lewis in front of him, and he would have something that he had to figure out in Evander Holyfield. How am I going to figure out the puzzles of this equation? And that's what it's like with Leeds. When sides come up against us and they sit back and they try to figure us out, and all of a sudden there's a challenge. We're like, how do we break this down? How do we do that? And we don't know what to do because the personnel aren't in the right position.
Yeah. No, Rocco, I see you nodding.
Because of where the manager.
Yeah, no. Yeah. That's fair. I think it is fair. I can see Rocco nodding along, and I have to agree with JT in terms of the quality of Somerville and Rutter. They are streets ahead. What changes would you make, Rocco? I know I'm not asking you for like a full-on tactical thing, but is it a personnel thing? Do we, change? Yeah, is it just personnel? Do we play Nonto? I thought when Nonto came on, he looked bright. Do you know what I mean? But there seems to be a reluctance to change the starting 11 as well, whereas Ipswich make changes. Leicester tonight made changes. We just never make changes, Rocco.
Nah, I think Luke, I sort of agree with what Luke said about we've got to be a bit careful because, like I said at the start, we're still picking up a really good amount of points. So it's hard to criticise too much. But then at the same time, I completely agree. I mean, I was getting really pissed off with Perreault last night, and just generally speaking, I don't think he's slick enough in possession to play number 10, to be honest. Like the amount of times the ball goes to him, and if we had a better player, the attack would be more dangerous. He either doesn't play the right pass quick enough, or it's just a bit cumbersome at turning, or whatever it might be. So I would bring Nonto in. I'd like to see Somerville playing that central role behind Rutter, or try Rutter behind. I'd like to see that as well. But I think Nonto has to be in for Perreault, to be honest. Perreault's got a fairly decent return on the goals, but I just think a lot of the time he's not particularly helping us. So yeah, getting a bit frustrated with him. He'd be the one that I'd drop out, to be fair. But at the same time, I'm still of the mindset that I'm happy to trust Farke. I'm not really getting on at him because I'm happy with how well he's done. But at the same time, it's like everyone seems to agree, really. I mean, we're all seeing it. So at least to see what it's like try it, just to see. Because they all might just, completely explode.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? Like, just for one game, try them, switch them round. You know what I mean? Just for one game and see what happens.
The thing is, Joe, really quickly, the thing is, the games where we've had more success is where they have actually been swapping over a lot more. And naturally, because they've been playing much closer together, and it just happens. Rutter naturally drops deeper, picks the ball up and threads in Pirot. He's got 2 or 3 assists for Pirot this season, I think, from doing exactly that. So it does. We can see it does work. It's just a case of actually having the bollocks to do it from the start of a game, I suppose. Well, the other thing I just want to say before we move on is we're so predictable with our lineup and how the style of play and everything.
Yeah.
It's too. Everybody knows how we're going to set up and how we're going to play against us. We almost are on the back foot before we've even started because we know how we're going to play. They all know how we're going to play, and we expect everybody else to read our script and play to our speed and our style. The team changes that around and think, actually, we're just going to knock it long over the top here and make you turn around. Hang on a minute, we're meant to be fucking Leeds United. We're meant to have the 70-80% of the possession and be going at you for 75 minutes of the 90. So yeah, I mean, there is lots that can be changed, and whilst it is fair to criticise Farke, I still think. I'm still very much with Rocco that I haven't seen enough to sort of put me off and start sort of saying Farke and all that bollocks.
No.
I think that he is stubborn. He's very, very
no, absolutely. And our most stubborn manager ever is obviously the best manager we've had in recent history. You know, we look at the substitutions Marcelo used to make or not make.
Yeah.
Dan James up front, Tyler Roberts in at the centre defensive midfield. Do you know what I mean?
Don't mention.
Let's not go at Tyler Roberts, mate. He's a world-class player.
So look, and now look how we look at him. Do you know, as almost a godlike figure. So look, there's plenty of time to go in this season, and I just think rather than getting ahead of ourselves and over criticizing, I suppose, and being over dramatic about because there are slight things. Look, it wasn't an ideal performance. It wasn't an ideal performance, and we've had a few of them this season. But it almost, I think the frustrating thing is it almost looks too easy to change from our perspective, from the outside looking in, and we're just almost like just change it. Just change it. You know, I guess we'll see. I think he is adaptable, and I think we'll probably see I think Farke's got a plan of getting to a certain stage of the season, and we've mentioned it before. We'll start seeing changes. We'll start seeing people being rested and things as well. So who knows? He knows the league better than we do.
Yes,
and
I agree with you.
I think they made a really good point on Square Ball that if it wasn't for the fact that Ipswich and Leicester were doing so well. Freakishly well, you know, we'd be pretty happy with the points we got this season. Do you know what I mean? So it's just our luck to get in a promotion battle against those two.
One thing it'd be quite interesting to see because I'm sort of basing my defense of Farke on the points total, but actually thinking about it, how many chances do we actually create? I'd love to actually see the stat of, because I don't think we're creating anywhere near as many as we did under Bielsa in the Championship. No. I don't know whether we are compared to other teams, but it seems like we struggle a bit to create chances, and we're more clinical than, you know, under Bielsa. We didn't win every game 5-0, but, you know, we've missed a boatload of chances every game. So maybe we could be getting more out of them from that perspective, even if, you know, our points tally is good.
12 shots, 4 on target yesterday.
Yeah, it's not good, is it, when we've had the ball most of the game?
I think if you, Rocco makes a great point, because if you drop Pirot into Bamford during that Bielsa season, he'd have scored about 40, 50 goals. Do you know what I mean? Because we did, you are right, because we created so much under Bielsa and just couldn't find the back of the net.
But would he have been able to? I don't think he would, because he would not have survived under a Bielsa regime. Hence the fact Eddie Nketiah was a better goal scorer than Bamford, but he still couldn't get in the side over Patrick Bamford. And it's funny you say that. You say we're less creative under Bielsa, which is why I keep saying we have a severe problem, because you're dropping in to our squad the most creative player in the league. I'm pretty sure, I mean, Andrea, you know your stats off the back of your hand, but I'm pretty sure the best big chances created is Rutter by about 4 or 5 in the league.
So the stat guy is Loki, actually, not
but you're shoving Rutter in the side, but we're creating less. Okay, Pablo Hernandez, sure. Okay, you got me on that, but still. I forgot about that.
Sorry.
Just a quick one, if I may. Rocco mentioned, you know, I would like to see Gnonto going in for Pirot. Actually, yesterday when we finished with Anthony on the left. He moved Somerville from the left to the center in the 10, and Gnonto on the right, and then striker Pirot. Yeah, and two strikers.
Bamford as well, didn't we?
Yeah, three in the end. But before that, we had Anthony, Somerville, and Gnonto for a while. there. Then he move ultra offensive like in FIFA, you know. But yeah, I would like, yeah,
Like
it was
FIFA,
in
you
the
know?
end. It was in the end, you know. He wanted to draw the game. He wanted to get an equalizer there, you know. But yeah, I would like to see actually try a different solution with, for example, I like Somerville more on the left, but it can be an option to get James and Gnonto, or James and Somerville and Gnonto in the 10, like Rocco said, for Pirot, and Rotor up front. I would like to see that, honestly. I would like to see that experiment, especially because some certain players, and that is another point I would like to touch, the fitness. They are absolutely knackered. That's a worry for me. Certain players have played basically every game. They look knackered. In the second half, they drop off physically in terms of fitness, and the opposition with the changes, they go higher on the other road, you know, on the opposite road.
I think you've
That's
had
a problem.
we touched on it at half time, Andrea, in the game, because in the first 15-20 minutes we've seen Kamara, and I was saying on the watch along, he was almost playing advanced because he was that high up. He was all over Joe Bellingham. He was, you know, doing a bit of a man marking job at the start, and then towards, like you said, the longer the game went on, the deeper them two became. You know, Ampadu and Kamara sort of both regressed, and then we're, you know, second to every ball, whereas they started like a house on fire. And again, that comes back to maybe, I don't want to bemoan the recruitment because I think it was good, but maybe, you know, not having trust in those that are on the periphery. He clearly doesn't trust Green. He never fucking uses him. He doesn't trust him. The last time he brought him on, he played him in a 10, basically. He was like higher up the pitch, doing pressing from the front. I don't know if he trusts the rest of the bodies within the squad. But then again, when I think of who else he doesn't trust, I'm like, I don't think there is many. You've got Joseph Bamford and Anthony, for example. There's clearly a player there, but we only see him for 5 minutes every odd game. There is a player there.
There's a player there, but there's a League One player there, perhaps. Yeah, there's a player.
No way. But it's thin. We've got a really, really thin squad depth. It's as simple as that. There's not a lot of people he trusts enough to call upon to make a difference. And what you said, JT, earlier on about he's bringing players onto shock teams. I can't help to think about, you know, Patrick Bamford coming on, started going to shock anybody. Do you know what I mean?
Well, his haircut, Bamford.
In his current state. But do you know what I mean? It's hardly like he's not going to scare anybody, I don't think.
No, I think
you haven't got anybody that's going to come in and make a massive impact.
I think Bamford's still a good striker if you watch his movement.
I agree.
It's against the grain. I say it every week, TK. If you watch him when he comes on, and take away that I hate Bamford blinkers.
I don't hate him. But
the fact that he hasn't scored for 10 years and that penalty and everything else, take that all away and actually watch him and actually watch the amount of players he drags away yesterday, even in the short period he was on. He moves that defense around. He's a natural 9 that just unfortunately can't finish. You know, he's got everything that a good 9 should have, apart from a right foot and a left foot. Yeah, exactly.
The injuries unfortunately have
so he's not exactly gonna scare people.
I'm really sorry for that because he was a good player before that, but it's not been the same since that season ravaged by injury, the one after we finished 9, you know. And I'm really sorry because I used to absolutely love him after that season, and you can see he's struggling to find his feet again sometimes, and he got injuries. He has injuries a lot, even this season. He muscular problems, you know. It's really unfortunate and really sorry for him because, of course, after that season, he had been called by England. He was on a high, you know. After that, he was ravaged. He has been ravaged by injury, plagued by injury.
Yes, do you know? You ask any centre back in that league, and they won't enjoy playing against Patrick Bamford when he comes off the bench. I can promise you.
Do you know what? I just want to because I know you were praising Bamford, and rightly so, and the movement was there. And then I was thinking, I can't remember him barely touching the ball. So I've just had a look on FB Ref there, and him and Joseph touched the ball 3 times in 10 minutes, right? Which I'm not having a go at them here. But again, that's the issue with the tactics of saying, right, I'm just going to throw 3 strikers on. We had Pirot, Bamford, and thing. And then the team still persists in playing the same way that they were doing. And that was my point. And anyone who watched the watch long, I was saying, what are we doing? We're continuing to stay narrow or going from left to right, and not actually the one time they gave it to Non-Tony, whipped it in, we nearly scored. If you're going to have 3 strikers on the pitch, and I agree with you, Luke, Bamford's always moving, he's never static. But if you're not going to put the ball in there, there's no point in him finding space. He's just running around. And I've just had a look in that 10 minutes. The pair of them touched the ball 3 times each.
Should I tell you why? Should I tell you why that is? Because you've left 3 number 9s in there, you've left Pirot on, and you've taken off the one guy that's actually going to be able to get the ball into the box and actually going to be able to create the chances. How are they meant to create? How are they meant to convert any chances if the biggest creator has been taken off the pitch? Which is why I don't understand why he's not playing them together. And I actually am very happy that I have someone that also backs Bamford, because listen, I know he's not clinical. I know Pirot's a much better finisher. But I think the side just works better with Bamford in there. When I've seen it, the chances he creates for other people, just with his movement, the way he drags defenders away, the little flicks. Like, I know the game, he missed the penalty. Yeah, Stoke. He came on. And within a few minutes, you saw Leeds come to life and we got the penalty. Within a few minutes, you see Rutter, because Bamford was taking the defender back. Rutter had so much space. He plays a little 1-2. He flicks a great ball across to Somerville. Somerville gets across him. He almost score. 1 minute later, again, little 1-2 movement. Bamford runs off him. He plays a little reverse pass to Bamford. Bamford earns a penalty. Even later on in the game, there was a moment Bamford's in the box. He flicks his leg out, plays the ball out to Somerville. He takes a bit too long to shoot. We don't score. I think those 2 together, it just works. And listen, I'm not against going in the January transfer window and bringing in a number 9 that can operate the same way as Bamford with a bit more clinicality and a bit better fitness. But I just think it works better. I'm not against playing Bamford. I'll say it. I don't mind him starting. I want to see what it looks like.
Kate's face.
No, do you know what? I'm actually sitting here watching videos of Patrick Bamford, and let me carry on, because I'll come up with something decent.
Does he not get better? Does he not improve some of the players around him though? This is the question.
Yes,
like,
yes,
he does.
He
isolate him,
he just hasn't been on form, has he, this season?
It's the system that makes him better.
Still not enough of Bamford talk.
It's the system.
Yeah. Let's move it on. No, I think it's fair. Because, anyway, I do want to talk about Jed Spence at left back. The fact, and I sort of agree with Kate, should he have switched Archie around, although he seemed to push the fullbacks further forward, which meant that Jack Clark was barely in the game in the second half compared to the first, because he did give Archie Gray a torrid time. I think Spence, when he did get brought off as well, looked a bit fuming as well. I think he has that facial leakage. You can tell what he's thinking on his face kind of vibe. I don't know if maybe he should have stayed on and maybe Archie brought off, or is there a case now, Rocco, and I know we can't, but is there a case of, does Jed need to go on the right? Great. Again, we just need a left back, actually, when you think about it. You can have Jed on the right, and then you can then start playing Archie further up, because I think we've seen in the last few, when he does get into them areas, he's looking quite dangerous, Rocco.
Yeah, I think at the moment we've basically got no choice, do we? I mean, I thought Spence did quite well last night. I was fairly happy with him. I think he had a couple of rusty-ish moments in the first half, but I thought he did well there. Archie, obviously he's had some great games at right back, pretty much all of them at home, I reckon. I think Blackburn, he played well, and obviously created the goal fantastically. But I think we've seen a few occasions where he has, shown his inexperience or shown that he's not a right back. And the goal, of course, he's the one caught, 3 or 4 yards behind the defensive line. So it did cost us last night. So yeah, I think the sooner we can have Jed Spence at right back, I think we'll look at a much more balanced side. Like, not that Archie's done badly, but just because Spence is a natural right back, and he looks to me like a real quality player. But like, beyond just having him at left back and keeping Archie at right back for now, I don't know what else we can do. Unless Gruev can play there, I don't know. He seems to be the last option, because I wouldn't want to move Struijk out to left back. I know Gruev's played left side of 3-man defence for Bulgaria, but left back's a bit of a different thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I watched that game when
He's
he
not
played
fast.
left of the back three, and he was shite.
Yeah,
By the way,
he's
I did watch that game.
Internationals.
He was really bad in that game, by the way.
I thought you were going to defend him for a second there.
No, I watched
God
that
knows
game. I
he
did it
can't.
on this channel. Yeah, and I was like, nah, he's not good there.
But the commitment of Joe watching Bulgaria versus Iran.
I did though, bro. I know, right?
What about, hear me out, what about moving Pascal to left back, Ampadu into centre back for a bit of a rest because he won't have to do as much running, then Archie into midfield and Jed to right back? It's a lot of moving.
Hang on a minute.
It's a lot of
Bielsa ask that.
Yeah.
Put that James in the 9.
Yeah. Andrea will tell you about Ampadu at centre back, won't you?
No,
you're not
that's
fine. He played there in
don't-
Italy, and he wasn't.
don't even
great,
mention-
I don't think.
Don't even mention him. It's like Gruev for Bulgaria, basically. He cannot play as a centre back. Trust me. If you want to prove, just watch Verona versus Spezia, the relegation playoff. Spezia lost 3-1. 2 of the goals were caused by a mistake by Ampadu, an own goal and a mistake. He scored the only goal for Spezia, but yeah, his natural role is playing in midfield. He really struggles as a centre back because he, as a midfielder playing there, he tends to get up, so he gets out of the line and he doesn't have the pace to get back if the striker sprints through, and he has to follow him, but he doesn't have the pace to do that. So he's a midfielder, not a defender.
I definitely have to back Andrea on this because when we did the scouting report, he actually said we should sign Ampadu, but as a DM, not as a centre back. And then, like 2 weeks later, we were signing Ampadu. So there you go. So he knows, he was on it, weren't you, Andrea? You were on it before you were ahead of the curve with that.
He's very tired now.
Yeah, definitely. And we would like to see some changes. Hands up. Well, you don't have to put your hands up. I don't think many will. But yeah. Does anyone expect him to make changes for Saturday?
No.
See, that's the thing, innit? Not one person thinks he will. That's not good.
Yeah.
That's not good. I think we'll all be surprised if he does. But let's finish on a positive. Illan Meslier. He's been taking a lot of flack from a lot of corners over the last couple of weeks. I think it's been unjustified, unfair, if I'm being totally honest. And I thought yesterday, for me, I said it at half-time, I thought, we're talking man of the match level performance. Obviously, the goal that we did concede, I think it's more 50-50. You've just got to throw your body out. And unfortunately, Archie Gray's more at fault for playing him onside, to be honest. But Luke, I know, and Rocco, I heard you defend it on Leeds, so I'll come to you as well, bro. But Luke, Meslier was great yesterday, and his kicking and distribution was improved yesterday as well, I thought.
Look, I had a shall we say a back and forth on Twitter with what I call data nonsense, and basically
Surely not, Lou. Not a back and forth.
You can't say that.
Okay, data gimps, data geeks. What do you want me to call them? Like people who
like stats. People who like stats.
Okay.
Statman Gabe.
I had a couple of conversations with somebody who likes stats, shall we say, and they were trying to tell me as a poor keeper based on, I don't remember what, but something to do with the numbers of percentages made him the 4th worst goalkeeper in the league. Now,
I saw that.
He's nowhere near the 4th worst goalkeeper in the league, and the saves he's made this season. And people will only say the Leicester save and last night, but there's been far, far more than those saves and good saves that not many keepers would make as well. He's been absolutely fantastic for us. He's compared to last season. He was, you put a steady 4 in front of him, and you can see how much more confident he is with the ball. Not just the ball at his feet.
He even has a goal at his centre backs, Luke, as well, doesn't he? He actually has a
confident. Yeah, you see him. I stand right behind the goal in the south stand, and I literally, obviously, get 45 minutes of watching pretty much Meslier's backside, and you can see how vocal and how how much more confident he is in comparison to last season, and what that brings to the 4 in front of him. If they're confident, and this whole punching malarkey, he's been told to do that because he isn't very good at catching the ball when he's under a lot of pressure. So he's been coached to punch it, and his punches, generally speaking, are going to a safe area, which is exactly what you want. If you can't catch it, punch it and get it out of there. So absolutely for me, he's been chalk and cheese in comparison to last season, and a very good, still a very very good keeper.
And I agree. And a point I want to make on the punches, because I take a lot of stick for defending these punches. There was loads yesterday against Sunderland that had he have tried to catch it, he drops the ball, but he's actually getting there ahead of the head of a Sunderland player. Now there's an attack that Somerville goes through on that Jack Clark pulls him down. Now I know that came from a header, but the whole point of the punches is to create moments like that. And there have been times where it has gone to a Leeds United player and we've got up the pitch, and that's why he's been asked to punch the ball. This whole notion that keepers have to catch crosses is bullshit. Like, this isn't the 90s. We're not talking keepers that are only there to keep, if that is a thing. Like, there's a lot more to their game, and you can't tell me your coach has come in, spent 20 weeks or whatever with him now, and has not said, I want you to start catching it, and he's now just ignoring that and punching it. It's a clear direction from the coach. So people who want him changed, who want him sold, who want him to start catching it, who want him to start kicking it long, this isn't what he's been asked to do. None of them things will come to fruition, so you might as well get used to it, because Leeds United won't sell him. They will keep him in the Prem. People say he needs replacing in the Prem. They will not sell him. So I just think you need to look at Rocco, you made a great point on this stat thing that I sort of stole. You mentioned the save percentage thing and actually said, by that logic, Onana was one of the best keepers in the Premier League. Now, every man and his dog can tell you who watch Onana, he's one of the worst. But his save percentage is really good, Rocco.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the thing with these stats. Some stats are useful, but to form opinions based on something that has so many holes in it when it comes to save percentages is a load of nonsense. I think Meslier is brilliant. I think that save last night was world class. I think there may only be a handful of keepers in the world that would actually save that. I mean, the guy's 6'6", 6'5", at full stretch, reactions to get there. Most keepers wouldn't get near it just like because of physics, but he can. I think he's class. And like you said about the punching thing, I've no issue with it. I think if anyone thinks that we need to get a new keeper, I don't know who they think we could possibly get that's anything near as good as Meslier. And I think a lot of the time people, especially with keepers, like people are asking for perfection, but like there's not many good keepers at the top of the game. I mean, Onana cost 40 odd million. Even David De Gea was making like mistake after mistake last season. Meslier's class, and especially like last season, at the end of last season, he completely went into his shell, and even he was bad and he deserved to get dropped, and that's fair enough. But he's a young keeper and he's responded brilliantly, and I've massive respect for him, and I think we're really lucky to have him.
Still young as well.
Can I just say as well that the guy who gave those stats said that last two matches his save percentage has been 75% and 63%, so he might be turning things around, quote unquote.
By the way, I really like this guy. I just we all know what we're talking about. I feel like we're talking about.
I don't have a clue who you're talking about, to be honest. But all I know is
there's a big divide at the minute between Meslier and Meslier hit.
I'm in the Meslier.
He's just a sporting duel last season.
But I mean, anybody that's in the Meslier hate bracket clearly hasn't seen the games in which he's been dropped, because Carl Darlow is probably the worst keeper I've ever seen in my life playing for Leeds United. I've seen a lot of bad goalkeepers. So anybody that wants Meslier out, I don't know what they're watching, and I don't know who they think that we can get in the Championship at the same level. Listen, as for the punches, just quickly, ain't got a problem with that. At least he's punching it. The problem I've had with Meslier is he's Mr. Flappy Hand Meslier. That's the problem. He could never catch it. But what he used to do all the time, he used to flick his wrist down and completely palm it down into the middle of the box. At least, someone's looked at him. They said, listen, mate, you're like Butterfingers. You're probably not going to catch the ball from there. So just punch it one. Give it a good right hook or something. Because those flap of the hands, that used to give me heart attacks. I'm telling you.
Bad coaching that though, isn't it, really? Poor
they got rid of him, didn't they? They got rid of him.
He brought the lad in from Norwich with him, didn't he?
He went to West Brom, the former goalkeeping coach with Paul Brown.
Yeah.
Farke.
Yeah,
Marcus
Abad, wasn't it? Yeah, he's gone to West Brom, but yeah.
Marcus Abad, the goalkeeper coach.
Meslier for me is he's one of the good guys, if you like. Lishat. And he made a fantastic serve yesterday that kept us in the game for sure. Games are coming thick and fast. Before we finish, 2 home games. I've been looking at games for whatever reason in 2-game little chunks at the minute. I think a lot of it is due to the fact because normally you get 2 away, 2 home, 2 away, 2 home. So I'm like, that's how I've been just, working it out. I want to know points total from the next 2. We've got Coventry and Ipswich. I'm going for 6 just because we're at home. We have to beat Ipswich, don't we? But that's head and heart. I think we beat them. We've already beat them at their place. Why not? Rocco, I'll come to you. 6 points or less. What?
Yeah, I'll go with 6. Yeah, I think we'll keep the run going against Coventry at home, and then Ipswich, massive game. And I mean, I wasn't impressed with them at their place. I thought they looked like a League One team, to be honest. Like they must have had an off day. I know they scored 3, but we gifted them those goals. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going for 6. Hope I'm right.
Yeah, Kate, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going for 6. And considering they've got their derby as well this coming weekend, so I think that's a potential for them to drop some points. So I think seeing as we beat them on their patch, we're at home. 6 points. Why not?
Yeah, it's quite. This is a huge couple of weeks because Ipswich do play Norwich, then they play us, then they play Leicester. If they somehow get through that without getting beat, then they deserve to go up, in my opinion, if I'm being totally honest. You have to just hold your hands up. Andrea, how do you see the next 2 home games going for Leeds?
I think we pair pretty well with those 2 teams. We've seen that at Palmer Road, for example, with Ipswich. So I think 6 points, honestly. The only thing I want to see more is that I want more rotation changes if certain players aren't working.
Because who would you rotate, Andrea? Sorry to interrupt you.
I would like to see what Rocco said, honestly. I would like to see Gnonto in and Rotter in up front with Gnonto try to play in the 10, or and do the switch with Rotter. But yeah, I would like to see some rotation because also of the fitness. Because as I said, some players are really, really knackered and they need a rest, honestly, to be fair, because it's a problem and it's costing us in the second half in certain games. And I don't want certain players to resign to the fact that they are just subs, because they train every week and they arrive at a match, they thinking like they're subs, they have a sub mentality. We train every week, but the same players are going to start anyway. So I'm a sub, I won't come on till the 70 minute and they play like subs, They struggle to make an impact. I want them to challenge the starters, I want them to challenge the starters more, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're getting enough minutes to even stake a claim, are they, at the minute?
Yeah,
if we're
absolutely.
being totally honest.
It takes 10 minutes to get. It takes 10 minutes to get the feel of the speed of the game and who you're up against. And by the time that 10 minutes is over, then they've got 10 minutes to make an impression. That's not long enough. And we can see that, but for whatever reason, he's got his ways on it. So
yeah. Do we get 6 points, Luke?
Yeah, absolutely. Reaction. I've seen massive reaction. It's happened every time we've been beaten this season. We've gone on to win at least the next 2, I think. Every time we've been beaten. So, I see us comfortably beating Coventry. I think Ipswich will be a little bit more tricky because they're riding some hell of a wave. And McKenna is doing a great job down there. They're absolutely buzzing. And if they've any tactical guile about McKenna, then rather than going toe to toe with us like he did at their place, we might see him mix it up a little bit. So I think that will be the tougher of the 2 for naturally because they're flying. Yeah. But I still fancy us to beat them both, and we should be, to be fair.
Yeah, we should be. JT, great debut, mate. So I'm going to finish with this for you. Ian S says, "Hi all. We all know what a wobble is. Am I being too worried about end of Jan? We could lose key players, and I hope that doesn't bring a wobble for us." JT, worried that Leeds United could lose any players?
Does he mean in the transfer window? Or does he mean by injury?
Transfer window, yeah. Just
transfer window, not too worried. The only player I think we'll lose is Wilfred Gnonto, unfortunately, even though I do think he's been giving himself a good case to start. It's just tough because Dan James kind of made himself undroppable aside from last week with his performances. He's the only one I think I see going. Maybe Jaden Anthony, like I said, I'm not too pressed because I think Poveda is just as good as Jaden Anthony, if not better. So I think we do need to bring a backup in for Gnonto if he goes. I think that's the only thing. What I am more worried about potentially losing by the end of January is injuries, because Rutter has shown that he's capable of picking up injuries, as too has Somerville. And I think if we lose one of those two players, I think we're really, if it's an extended period of time, we're probably kissing our chances of automatic promotion away. That's how important I think those two are to the team, especially Somerville and even especially Rutter, both of them. So that's my only fear. I think, listen, if you're asking about next week, just to quickly say, I think 6 points. I think it should be an easy 6 points on Saturday. Ipswich, bit more of a challenge. But if we don't get 6 points, I think again we're really, if we're talking about potentially leaving a 13, 14 point gap between us and Ipswich, and then Leicester catching them is going to be virtually impossible. So I don't think we can afford to drop any more points for at least the next 2 or 3 months. I think it's that tough. And it's hard to say because we've been playing well, but I think it's that tough to catch up with them. So we have to get 6 points.
Yeah,
I came to the conclusion, on my watch along earlier on, I know it's not comparable in terms of quality, but if you look at Liverpool and Arsenal and the way they have to compete for the Premier League title, they literally can only lose 1 or 2 games. And it feels like this season, the gap that we've created is getting to that territory already. Because if we were to lose to Ipswich, like JT's just said, that gap's now 13. If we'd have lost to Leicester, it'd have been 17 at that point, and it almost felt insurmountable. And it can change quickly. It's just, if they were to beat us, then it's like, well, oh God, what we I don't know. I can't imagine last 10 games at season just giving up for a fucking playoffs. I can't deal with that. Do you know what I mean? It'd just be horrible. And
I'd love to win at Wembley, though, mind.
Yeah, 100%. I get it. I get that.
But I'd rather not after, I'm not a narcissist. I don't want to go through.
Didn't even make it to Wembley last time. So,
I know, exactly, yeah. Sorry, just really quickly, Joe. I looked up the bookies odds after Ipswich had won last night, and we're still favourites to go up above them.
Wow. Okay.
The bookies still have. So look, the bookies have done their research. They know who they've got to play. They know who they've got to play away from home or at home. And look, it's this season we're not even halfway through it. And
you got a little bet on, Lou?
I haven't because there's no value in it, to be honest. If I was, I'd be back in Ipswich, to be fair, at this stage.
Yeah, but shall I tell you why the bookies have done that? Because the bookies aren't Leeds fans, and unfortunately, we've seen this story too many times. Whether it's this season, where any other year in the Championship we would be cruising at the top, or a couple of seasons ago / last season, any other season in the Premier League with that kind of points tally would have been safe a long time ago. It just seems to be the curse with Leeds, where we just seem to be that cursed kind of club. So that's why the bookies probably still tip us, because they haven't been focusing on every single time we've just thrown it away or had bad luck. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Donahue made a great point last night. I think he did a tweet and he said if Leeds needed any more motivation to make sure they're not in the playoffs, it was tonight, because that is the type of game that you lose in the playoffs. Do you know what I mean? In the semis, it's tight and shitty goal to give away, and you're like, oh God, it's over now for another.
Somebody said to me that they see that last night's match being the playoff final.
God, it'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
Because of the red and white reminiscent Doncaster, probably.
Oh, to be fair, if we had stoppage time, our substitutes might actually have a minute to impact the game, so it might do us a favour.
This is true. Right, we'll leave it there. We've done an hour and 10 minutes. Great show tonight. Really, really enjoyed it. And I know the chat did as well, so that's been great to see. Make sure you follow all these amazing content creators. I'll be back tomorrow night. I'm with Benjamin. I'm going to be Benjamin Bloom again, getting an Ipswich fans' perspective, a championship don, if you like. So we'll see what he's got to say. And yeah, some more shows, I think, as well. White Rose, Rivals, and all that jazz. Make sure you check out all these podcasts, all these shows, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much for watching.